They have 51 different terms for snow.
Yeah, you told me that. That's crazy.
We have like
51 different
snow,
terms for snow,
sleet, slush. Like we have like very primitive.
Yeah, it's
and the
crazy.
reason is because.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the 4th episode of Deeper Than You Thought, the Philosophy Psychology podcast with your host, Thaddeus Uhas and
Mikey Murray.
Yes. And this is a great episode because I feel like this past week, we started to get into the groove of how to actually want to run the podcast. Like especially on like the short form, the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Our hardware, we got new microphones. If you can tell the difference in the quality, I definitely could before. It's way better.
Way better.
And also we have a great view this time. We're at one of the most popular tourist attractions in San Marcos, whoever comes to San Marcos. Double Peak Mountain, right by San Elijo. This is a pretty good overlook. We're on the backside of the mountain, but still, it looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm very excited. And what we're talking about today is really quite important for your everyday life, and it's just pretty interesting. I did a lot of research into this, and I found a lot more things that you'll probably be surprised as much as I was whenever I first watched the video. But before we get into that, it's just touch bases and check everything out. Mike, how was your week?
It was good, man. First week of teaching.
Yeah. How did that go?
First week of teaching. It was awesome. I thought the students were really receptive to what I was teaching, and I also learned like how to self-correct. So I recorded my lecture, and I realized I just am too sophisticated with my language and I talk too fast sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that being one of your vices.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to like dial that back. And then I got some feedback. Some kids are like, yeah, crystal clear explanations. Yeah. Other kids are like, I don't really get what you're trying to say. Yeah. So I think being a teacher, I'm realizing, is trying to navigate how to benefit the entire like whole, the entire class. But yeah, it's been amazing. I'm super excited every time I'm about to teach. Yeah. And when the kids engage, it makes it that much better.
What was your first 2 like lectures about?
My first lecture was an introduction to philosophy, so it was 10 things philosophy is according to your boy.
To you?
Yeah, according to me.
Well, give me a sneak peek. What are the first?
So
3?
like first was like philosophy presupposes wonder and silence. Okay. That was one. Philosophy is a way of life for the cultivation of wisdom. Okay.
It's pretty peak.
Yeah. That was another one. And then another important one was philosophy is a systematic inquiry into the fundamental things of the world. Okay. So like I went through 10 of those. And then my second lecture was on a book called The Secular Age. Okay. So the structure of the class is where are we? How did we get there? And then what do we do about it?
Is that your book?
No, that's the class.
Oh,
that's going to be the whole year.
Okay.
So now we're doing modern readings, like we're in a secular age. What does it mean for a place to be secular? What does it mean for a nation to be secular? And then we just piggybacked on that for 2 days. Fire. Next week's reading is called The Master's Emissary, about the brain and neuroscience. Okay. And how
that's like right up your alley.
How it shaped civilization, basically.
Yeah.
Left brain, right brain differences.
Fire.
But yeah, that was my week, man.
And it's interesting too how you said the right brain, left brain, that's more of a psychology thing, but it leads into your philosophy class. Yeah. And our podcast is a mix of philosophy and psychology because it's very important. Actually, I don't know if you saw on that, we had our first, one of our first comments on our TikTok. Yeah. It was talking about how like, it was your video, your solo video about how it changed your life. Yeah. And he was saying how like, it's a lost art to like know things and like know yourself, and because through knowing yourself you can love everything around you and know everything around you, and it was just kind of cool how like it's our first real like engagement. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean? It's something I'll probably remember forever. Yeah. What was like the biggest like curveball that you didn't expect going into teaching?
You know, I think it's trying to judge whether or not the kids are liking it. I think that was the hardest thing is, and we're probably going to get into this in this episode, but nonverbal dynamics of communication. It was really hard to see whether or not they were not following, liking it or not liking it. Yeah. And so I realized that a lot of times I was saying, does that make sense? But it was kind of like an anxious, does that make sense?
You're kind of worried, like, am I explaining this properly?
Yeah, like worried I wasn't.
That's valid too, especially like your first like week or two, you know what I mean? Like, you should be kind of not like anxious about it. You don't know what to do yet. You're still learning along with them. Especially your first year of teaching.
That's me, man. What about you? What about you? How was your week? What'd you do?
I got tattoos. I got 2 tattoos. My friends, I don't tell my friends this kind of stuff. I kind of wait for them to find out. I don't think a lot of my friends actually watch the podcast. I don't really care. I got a mouse, and then I got the symbol of gratitude with the words
Why?
Amor Fati.
What do they both mean?
The mouse is, my childhood nickname was Mouse. My grandparents, my parents, my aunts, uncles called me Mouse growing up as a kid. Maybe because I was a small baby. I don't really know why. But specifically my grandfather on my mom's side, Raymond Scott, he died last September. And he used to call me that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think ever since he died, I've been thinking about ways to incorporate Mouse into my character, my personality, how everyone knows me, and remembrance of him. But then I thought, might as well just get a tattoo. And I've been thinking about it probably around since April, and I just got it on Wednesday with my boy Riley. So yeah, now I'm just taking care of it. I think I have ingrown hairs on them, which kind of sucks, but I gotta take care of that, all that stuff.
It's cool though because people don't usually associate a mouse with deep meaning.
Yeah.
So at the outset, people will probably be like, oh, it's just a mouse. But
no, yeah, exactly. I love that too because I have 5 tattoos now, which is kind of crazy. But all my tattoos have meaning, and I think because of that, even if when I'm older, I'm like, I don't want tattoos. I think I'll appreciate what they actually mean, and because of that, I will never really regret having them.
Gotcha.
Which is my viewpoint. I know it's kind of a controversial topic, especially amongst older people like that. Yeah. But I think they're great. I love them. My parents hate that I have 5 now, but I love it. I want to get a patchwork sleeve up my upper arm, like my elbow up. I want a patchwork sleeve one day. So now I have 3 down on that arm. That's me. And I start school on next Monday, but I move in on Wednesday. So I'm really excited for that. I get to see all my friends, my roommates, whoever. I get back in the swing of things, back to the regularly scheduled program of San Diego State.
Nice, bro.
Yeah, so awesome. it's been a long, short 3 months.
I bet.
You know what I mean? It's weird, the adjustment, especially after having a year. Now going into my sophomore year, I kind of know what it's to expect. Yeah. But still, every year is going to be so different to where it's there's so many surprises that I have no idea.
College is weird like that too. You get a very long break. Yeah, you know for
sure because you just graduated.
You get a really long break and then you go back for a while and then you get a long Christmas break. Then you go back. It's a weird schedule.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And you form all your friends there.
Yeah.
And then they leave.
It's really weird. Oh. It's really weird too because it's kind of funny how before going to college, I had my, for lack of better terms, my main characters in my life, the people who in high school I grew up with, yada yada. And now that I'm in college, they're more of side characters, and college friends are the main characters in my life, where I see them way more often than the friends that I grew up with.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
If you think about it,
it's the same neighborhood.
Yeah, the past 3 months were my side quest from my main story of being at college. When before it was college is the side quest, and probably once I graduate college it'll be the side quest of my whole life.
Right.
But it's interesting. The whole perspective is a crazy thing.
It is.
That's something I want to talk about eventually too on the podcast too. I'm getting a little bit into it today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's cool, bro.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And one last thing before we get into everything. You watched Spider-Man. What'd you think of Spider-Man? I really wanted to talk about it in depth last week because that was the topic of the episode.
Yeah.
I didn't want to ruin it for you, but now that you've watched it, what did you think?
Without revealing too much?
No, you can reveal it. It's been a week.
All right.
Spoiler warning.
Well, spoiler.
I'll put in a timestamp when to skip to if you don't want to get spoiled. But spoilers, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Great movie. Go watch it and skip to whenever I put to whatever. But yeah.
So I thought piggybacking off episode last week, I thought it was really cool to see how Spider-Man has to suffer inside without having a reference point for his suffering. In other words, reference point, I mean, he can't tell the people who he loves most why he's suffering because they don't remember him. They don't have memory of him anymore. But they're the only people he could tell. He lost his aunt?
His aunt died.
He lost his aunt. Yep. He lost his girlfriend. Yep. He lost his best friend.
Yeah,
that's tough. And now he's forced to be with them, still. And so he has to silently suffer but still be a hero.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most profound part because I think that a lot of times in life, the saints, the heroes of the world, are the people that aren't recognized and are the people who can't necessarily express what they want to express, but still nonetheless go forward with saving people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's what that's that saying. It's virtue is what you do when no one's watching.
Yeah, for sure.
For surely.
For sure. And then I love the Punisher.
The Punisher's great.
I thought he played an amazing role.
I think he did great. And I think the Hulk was a great little
yeah.
Because it's crazy because that's the first time we've seen Savage Hulk since Ragnarok. So almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And it's crazy because you could throw the Hulk in there and be like, oh, it's just kind of a cameo. It's kind of sloppy. But the way they put it in was actually really well, and at least spoke to his character arc.
Yeah.
Every character that was added into the movie that isn't a regular Spider-Man character furthered his character arc so well that they blended into the story.
Right.
Or it wasn't. That's why that's something I think they do really well in the Spider-Man movies. Even in the last one where they brought in the other two Spider-Men.
Yeah.
They never really overshadowed Tom because they were helping with his own character arc.
Yeah.
But I think I did that really well.
Yeah,
and
for
yeah,
sure.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. That's my guy. I want a Spider-Man tattoo one day.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the suit was amazing.
The suit was cool.
The action was amazing, spectacular. The music was great.
Oh yeah.
The needle drops were great, and the theme, the score was great.
The ending shots.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
And him
bro.
on the beam.
Yes.
So fire.
And then the other thing that I really liked, which I thought was two things that I thought were really deep. One, he shows he's really truly a hero when he saves the villain, and then she becomes, she stops being a villain after he saves her.
Yeah.
Which I thought was super cool.
But my only complaint with the movie is that she was way too villainous.
You think so?
I think just because, like, do you know what the X-Men are?
I've heard of them. I don't know.
Okay,
so
well,
much.
basically, the villain of the movie is an X-Men. She's like the main character. She's like one of the main characters of the X-Men.
Yeah.
And they're like a super popular Marvel like hero group.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, knowing who the character is supposed to be, and mind you, this character is like Jean Grey is like the most compassionate, most caring X-Men. So it's like, to see her doing these like evil things, like the rooftop scene with Peter and MJ, I think like it was for the character, it's way too much. For the movie, it was great.
I hear you.
That's my only confliction.
That makes sense.
Because like for the movie, it was great. Like, it was a great way of digging at Peter and really making him like struggle with everything that's like inside him.
Yeah.
And like really making him deal with his problems.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's great, but
Yeah.
knowing that it's Jean Grey, it's like she wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That actually makes sense from your knowledge base.
And it makes it hard for me to like root for her once she becomes a hero. Because it's like you just tormented Spider-Man for a whole movie. Like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? That was my only problem with the movie.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to say it's a problem because it made the movie so much better. Like, that scene was such a good scene.
It was such a good scene. And the fact that Frank shot him, too.
I felt for it. I felt for the rooftop scene.
That was wild.
I felt the pump. Like, that shit, that hurt.
And it made Frank Castle cry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in some way, like, the tragedy brought about a good.
For sure.
And then the second thing that I thought was probably one of the most profound parts of the movie is he has this, like, venom, like the spider bite that's taking him over.
Yeah.
But then he actually lets it have its way with him, and then he controls it. I think that's a super deep thing.
I think that leads back into, like, the ultimate metaphor of this entire show, where it's like you have to confront your problems. You can't run away from them.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? It's like, you remember that scene where he was talking to MJ and MJ was like, "What are you like? Why are you doing all this stuff? Like, this seems like stuff like playing with your DNA. If someone was like a monster, he's like, I've been acting like a monster. He's like, no, I just think you're changing."
Yeah.
And then Mark Ruffalo was like, "Who are you to say what's right and wrong with nature?" Like, I think him having to accept what's happening to him was a great metaphor for life.
That was awesome. I do too. It was a
great metaphor for life, and him realizing he can't do it all on his own.
100%, man.
It was great.
I thought that was great.
It was cool too because Tom Holland talked about that. He's like, I think this is a good movie for young adults.
Yeah.
Saying that they don't have to do everything alone.
Yeah, perfect.
So I think it was a 9. I think for me it was like a non-biasedly like a 9 out of 10 movie. The only problem is knowing knowing who Jean Grey is. She was way too villainous.
That's a fair critique.
And also I understand the complaint where it's like, there's no actual Spider-Man main villain, which I understand, but I think it works for the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Great movie. I hope to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man sooner rather than later, but I know he wants to go on a break with his wife, which is valid because I respect them having a private life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you rate out of 10?
I would say it's like 8.5.
8.5?
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
Very good movie.
It was a great movie. Okay, now let's get on topic. That's like 15 minutes of us.
Let's do it.
It was good, but let's get on topic. Okay, so the topic of today is language and articulation and the meaning of words, how words are formed, just general communication within human beings and why that's so important and why it is deeper than you think it is. So, do you want to start or want me to get started?
Well, why don't you start because you got notes?
Yeah, so first of all, this is really important to me because it's something I struggle with a lot because I don't know if you noticed or not, I have a stutter. And it makes communication and like language just really hard for me. And recently I went to speech therapy for the first time ever on Thursday. And I think that opened up a lot of avenues to which I can navigate through that struggle, and a lot of avenues just to learn about language in general. And I think the biggest thing that I learned, or that I walked out of speech therapy with, was this app. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing headphones, it's because I have an app playing called DAF, which stands for Delayed Auditory Feedback, which basically I'm speaking and I can hear my own voice back to me. And all that really does is like, it makes me slow down, which I can already tell throughout the first 50 minutes of the episode. Like, I can already tell I'm not stuttering, I'm not talking as fast as I used to, which makes the listening experience probably a lot better for everyone else. But I don't know how the science behind it is, but it just makes me talk slower. Because I only stutter whenever I'm talking really fast and I get caught on certain phrases or certain words, and I just can't get them out. But by talking slowly, I'm able to flow more freely, and even still, me talking slowly to myself is talking faster to everybody else.
Yeah. Because you already talk super fast.
I talk really fast.
Right.
And even right now, I feel like I'm talking like a snail.
Yeah.
But to you or everyone listening, or you're my speech therapist, she's like, you're still talking really fast.
Yeah.
So,
totally. Well, can I go into the science a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
So I think some of the science behind it, and this is something we do at our clinic with neurofeedback, it's just very simply, it's a feedback mechanism. So the fact that you hear, when you hear which isn't desirable to you, your brain automatically tries to adjust.
Yeah.
So as you continually hear what's unenjoyable or undesirable to you, your brain is going to adjust to not talk in that way.
Yeah.
So what the headphones are doing is it's reinforcing you to talk a specific way, to the point where you just unconsciously form the habit of talking slower. And so I think that's kind of the mechanism behind it.
And that's the goal too, because eventually if I keep using this all the time, it won't work anymore. I'll get used to it.
Yeah.
So the goal is to listen to this, and then eventually have it become my own subconscious, conscious choice to talk slower.
Yeah.
And then from then I should stop stuttering as much.
Right.
But I also learned that I clutter.
Yeah.
Cluttering is a speech fluency disorder marked by an abnormally rapid, irregular speaking rate, collapsed or slurred syllables, and disorganized language. And I slur my words a lot too, which is another thing that's kind of hard for me to understand. And this makes me just talk better in general. Yeah, speech therapy was really something interesting for me, and it was pretty cool too, because I went when I was younger, and it scared me. So I went when I was like 12, and it freaked me out because it got into a little bit of like actual therapy, and I wasn't ready for that yet.
Oh, I see.
So I kind of was afraid of it for a long time, and at the end of my freshman year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out and just try it. You know what I mean? And I went, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna be going for the next 8 weeks, and then hopefully I'll be a lot better from then, and I'll make the listening experience a lot better, and communication a lot better too.
So awesome.
And also, I lost my voice because I was coaching today. We won both games. Shout out my boys from Tech S, man. Shout out Sean Howard, game-winning layup.
Nice.
But yeah, my voice is gone, but I think it's good enough to listen to. If it's not, then I'm so sorry about that. We'll get back at it next weekend. Yeah. And yeah. Something else I thought was pretty interesting when doing research for this is how many like studies of language there actually are.
So many.
Like there's linguistics, semantics, pragmatics, etymology. Those are the 4 I wrote down.
Okay.
There's even those 4. There's subcategories within those 4.
Totally.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, there's tons.
Yeah, that's insane.
Tons of differences, and when you get into it, you get to the difference between syntactics and semantics too.
Yeah.
Which syntax is like the formal structure of, like, say, a sentence. Someone famous named Noam Chomsky, he thought that we had an innate learning device. He thought we had like an innate way, an innate language in some sense. Whereas there's arguments against him that we don't have an innate language, but we learn language by the meaning of words.
What do you mean by innate language?
Like he thought that there was a part of the brain where the mechanism was already formed that we can just speak. Whereas like John Searle, a philosopher, thought it had to be developed. In other words, if people weren't developed with language, they wouldn't learn it. Whereas Chomsky thought, no, everyone's going to learn language no matter.
I think maybe there isn't necessarily language, but I think there is a universal, like, inherent communication.
There you go. That's different. So communication and language are different then.
Okay, why?
Well, think about it. When I do this,
it's communication.
Yeah, it's communication, but it's not language.
But what do you call body language then?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You see what I'm saying?
But
I think if you define your terms, then the communication versus language is fine, but you have to make sure you define the terms.
I would say language, like Aristotle defines language as a conventional sign. So language is always a sign of something. And what he says is it's a conventional sign of mental content. So language is the mediation between the internal world and the external world. So like a tree for Aristotle could have as easily been called a table.
Yes.
So we agree upon the term, which designates the meaning of the thing outside of our minds.
Yes.
And then we bring syllables together to call it something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But yeah, so
I think that's interesting, especially because I have that thought all the time. Whenever it's like, I think words are very powerful, but I'm curious to see, is it the actual word or is it the meaning you attribute to the word? Because we could, like, for example, like we view saying someone's pretty as like they look good, and saying someone's ugly as they look bad.
Yeah.
But if you flip the words and universally across the whole world, like those meanings flipped, I could say, oh, you look ugly, and that can mean you look good, and you can say you look pretty, and that means you look bad. It's the same words, but the meaning of them is switched. In that way, what we attribute to them is different, and the power between them is moved.
Right.
And that's interesting. That's interesting.
It is
so it's
interesting.
Like, I'm like, do certain words have inherent meaning towards a certain thing, or only because we attribute to them to that?
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
So in regard to just regular day-to-day language, like the way we're doing it now, I think that it's totally socially agreed upon.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, the meaning of ugly could have been the meaning of beautiful that we have now. Yes. If we agreed that ugly meant the meaning of what we have for beautiful. But the thing that I actually think has an intrinsic meaning is something like music.
Like the word music?
Not even the word,
or like actual
the harmony music that comes forward from music, which is kind of a language in and of itself.
I agree with that.
So I would say things like in nature are fundamentally musical. And so I would say what's more objective is something like harmony, something like beauty.
Okay.
And I think beauty and harmony have a voice that isn't the same sort of communication that our sort of languages, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's a neuropsychiatrist who says what came before language was actually music. So in other words, we think music came from language. We think music is a spin-off from language. But he says that there's good evidence to think that what we had first in terms of communication was prosody. Like this,
And you consider that music?
And he said he would consider that a primitive form of music. And think about it, like if I talk to you like this, you feel a different way than when I talk to you like this.
Yeah.
And so that's an important part of language. Another thing in nonverbal communication is when my words go sharp,
it's emphasis.
It's an emphasis, and people feel like, oh, he's really saying something. Whereas if my words go up, it communicates to them that you don't know what you're talking about. And so like we intrinsically actually pick up these patterns. And so he thinks that what happened first is there's a natural, objective, musical language that preceded the communication with words, which is a fascinating idea.
It is very fascinating.
Yeah.
It's extremely fascinating.
I know.
I never really thought about that. I mean, I was thinking more of like before there were spoken words, there was like physical communication. To where it's like you couldn't really speak, but you could like point out to things or like start to like, or like I think of like numbers.
Yeah.
Like I feel like numbering thing, like I feel like having numbers, knowing what numbers are pretty inherent because you have fingers. So it's like if there's one of that and one of that, then you have two, as they correlate to the two that you are in front of you.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's pretty inherent, but something I found out that's actually pretty interesting is I watched a TED Talk by Lara Boroditsky, talking about language and how language shapes the way you think.
Yeah.
And she was talking about the Cook Diard people off the west edge of Cape York. Was it them or someone else? Anyway, she was talking about people languages that don't have number-specific words. And it was kind of interesting because, where is it? So where is that in my notes? Is that fried? Oh no, I can't find the freaking thing. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so, because if you don't have words for exact numbers, you can't advance in math. And through advancing in math, you advance in everything, like technology, architecture, entertainment. And it's kind of interesting how like these people don't have individual numbers. They have words for like groups, like groups of things, but not exact numbers. So it's hard to communicate that way. And that's something I never really thought about. I thought that was pretty inherent, but I guess I was wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's there's more stuff she talks about I'll get into later on.
Yeah.
Where it's like things you wouldn't expect, like things that you don't think about in the English language that other languages just don't have.
Yeah,
and
totally.
how much it changes the culture, the entire culture of that place.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, and so like for example, the Greeks had 4 different terms for love.
Yes.
And we only have 1.
Yeah.
And what that does is what you bring up is interesting because there's a logical fallacy called equivocation. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Equivocation is when
I forgot what it was.
So like if I say like the bat is flying in the air, you don't know if I'm talking about a baseball bat or the animal with wings. In the same way that if I use love and I don't have a different differentiation with a meaning, I could just be equivocating. So like we can be talking about love the whole time, but we're appealing to a completely different meaning. And so that's one thing. Second thing that's interesting is they did some studies on Inuit people in Canada, and they have 51 different terms for snow.
Yeah, you told me that. That's crazy.
We have like
51 different
snow,
terms for snow,
sleet, slosh. Like we have like very primitive.
Yeah, it's
and the
crazy.
reason is because that's the climate in which they grew up in, right? And so they have to learn how to navigate their survival super well. And what that means is they have to know so many different forms and sources of what snow is.
Yeah.
Because that's going to determine whether they could get food that day, whether they can bring their sleds, et cetera, et cetera. And so there is something interesting, like language has an ability to tie things down in the world, which weren't otherwise ordered beforehand.
And yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So like with a baby, think about it, they just have sensory information and they don't like have anything to tie it down. So they just are, that's why they sleep so much, because their brain is taking in so much sensory information and they haven't formed language yet to be able to tie it down and say like, this is that. And so they get overwhelmed and they cry. But what language does is it creates a representational model and an anchor. So it's like, now I have this, what's in the world is now tied down in a speech.
But also something babies don't even have before it gets to speech is just thought and having object permanence.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have object permanence.
But like the level before even being able to speak as a child, you have to understand like that these things exist.
Yeah.
Which is something exclusive to humans. Like like we can like something that I learned in high school is like, for example, that tree, they can't see the tree, but for that example, that tree, I'm sitting in that tree. My eyes are closed. I still know the tree is there, but even though I'm not seeing it. But in reality, to my conscious existence, that tree no longer exists. I just see darkness. But the tree still exists in my mind because I remember it and I can image it, imagine it in my mind.
Yeah.
And from that is where I think our words come from.
Yeah.
Because all words really are is the expression of our thoughts.
Yeah.
That's all. It's the physical, vocal expression of our thoughts. But it's kind of interesting too because words always fall short of our thoughts. Like I feel like we can never truly express what's on our mind through words. I just feel like it's not possible.
Well, there's something interesting I might push back against you if you say words are just an expression of thought. I think that's true in one sense, but I think to really understand what language is, because it's a sign of your thought, then we have to say, okay, then what is thought? What is the mind? And one of the things that the phenomenologists, like a movement of philosophy which looked at what experience was, Edmund Husserl, he always said, you can't understand consciousness, or in other words, you can't understand the mind unless you understand that consciousness is always consciousness of.
Consciousness of?
Consciousness of.
What does that mean?
Consciousness of something in the world. In other words, you can't understand the mind unless you understand the content that's within the mind that you garnered from the world. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you understand things in the world, you see things in the world, you perceive things in the world, and after you perceive things in the world, then you have a storehouse for them. You're like knowledge.
Yeah.
And then from knowledge, you have like a certain memory. And then comes language. So the world furnishes your mind, and then you store it in memory, and then you can represent it. Yeah. So yes, language is a representation of the mind, but what's prior to that is that language is also a representation primarily of the world.
I know,
how you interpreted the world.
Okay, yes, but the world, like what you were saying, the world comes into your mind, the mind goes into the thought, into words. Yeah. I'm talking about step 2 and 3, not step 1. But I agree with you that our thoughts come from the world around us, from our senses.
Yeah.
But I'm saying all vocalization, all words, all languages is the physical representation of our inner thought, which we obtain from the world around us.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So we're saying the same thing.
No, we are, but I'm saying I still think one is a necessary. I think that you have to have knowledge of the world as a necessary condition to be able to speak.
I agree.
That's why I'm saying it's important to emphasize.
Okay, yeah. I agree. I agree for sure. And also something I think is pretty interesting is like, have you heard that point where it's like you have 3 voices, everyone has 3 voices, the one you speak, the one you hear in your head, and the one everyone else hears around you. It's very interesting. I think it's very true.
Yeah.
Like at least for me, the way you think in your mind isn't the way you talk out loud.
Yeah, that's true.
And also talking out loud versus hearing yourself in a video back, it's very different.
Oh, for sure.
Like I was saying earlier, I think I'm talking really slow right now.
Yeah.
But you probably think I'm talking really fast right now in comparison to your own speech and like the average speech around us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
like that emphasis of perception is really...
It is super interesting.
Perspective and perception is like crazy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's like insane.
It's really hard to understand.
It is really hard to understand.
Because perception is kind of like a navigating tool. Perception helps you navigate through the world. Like it helps you define what's in the background and then what's in the forefront.
You can navigate through the world.
It's the only way you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's the only way you can navigate through the world, and that perception, your perspective and what you view the world is the way you'll live your life. The way you will live your life is through your perspective of the world. Like if you think the world is like constantly beating down on you, think the world is evil, all that stuff, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah.
And if you think it's like a place where there's redemption, there's beauty, there's goodness,
right,
then you have an opportunity for happiness and to succeed in things.
And I think perception's interesting though, because I feel like there's also different forms of perception. I think there's a direct perception. So like, let's say you have like a sustained attention on a screen, like you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a sustained perception on the screen. You're taking in the detail there. But you also have a unconscious perception of your heartbeat, whether or not you're sweating, whether or not you're hungry. So there's like different forms of perception that are like continually going on that you're consciously mediating, but your brain, like your hypothalamus, your subcortex is unconsciously also mediating, which is so fascinating.
It is very fascinating. Something else I think is fascinating is like how there's two different perceptions of the same event.
Tell me more. I don't understand.
Like, have you ever heard that? Like the biggest thing I could think of is like, have you ever heard that saying, how does it go? History is written by the victor? Really, you haven't heard that before? Really? Okay. So, for example, like the American Revolution, on our perspective of that as Americans is like we left the British colonies, we fought for our own independence, we fought back, and they're like the tyrannical leaders on top of us, right?
Yeah.
But I bet you from the British perspective, it's way different.
Yeah.
Like from them, it's probably like we lost part of our country because they got greedy or something like that.
Right.
And because of that, we could have been this great nation, and they probably are sick because of everything that America's doing. And like, we should have owned you. That should have been us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But primarily across the whole world, what's the idea? That America fought their independence against the tyrannical leaders of Great Britain and became a great country. But that's only because we won. Like if the Brits won, they would think, oh yeah, America.
I see.
The American colonies tried fighting back, tried being greedy and doing all these things, but they weren't as great as they thought they were, and we humbled them and put them back in their place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But only because they would have won. But since we won, we shaped the idea or the mass idea of what Great Britain is in the American eye.
I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm even thinking like a more really simple example is like when you win a basketball game or you lose.
Yeah.
one. Like
I kind of wanted to. I don't know. I wanted to start small and go big. I went the other direction.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, but like, say somebody wins a basketball game, they're like, we won because we're better, and then the other teams, well, we didn't play good today. Yeah. And it's like, so what's more important is like, what's the justifying reason for how you view the event? And I think
because the thing is interesting because the event doesn't change.
The event doesn't change, right?
It's this
the event is the
perception
event.
around the percent.
It is the perception around the event.
And that even goes to like opinions and like hot takes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like characters or movies or books. Some people could love them, other people could hate them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's the same character.
Yeah,
it's the same exact thing.
Totally.
It's not changing. It's just the way you react to the said thing is changing.
Yeah. I want to circle back to language a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. We talked a little bit about like the philosophical conceptions of language and mind and perception, right?
Yeah.
Now there's an interesting psychological idea of language, especially when it comes to therapy, and this comes primarily from Carl Rogers that I'm thinking of. He says that there's at least two different aspects of language. He says that there's the actual content of what's being said. So, for example, say I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I feel really sad. Right? You see how I said it? Then he said that there's the underlying feeling or the way in which it's being said, which communicates a different layer of the person. So like I said, if I said, I'm feeling really sad, And it's like weird because like, it doesn't sound like you're feeling sad. So there's a disjunct between the way people are feeling and what they're saying. And I think that's a big psychological tip to understand is that there's always two aspects of language there.
Okay, yeah. I think it's true because I think that even speaks to like the different kinds of language. And I think it's interesting how you said like, you give the example of I'm very sad.
Yeah.
Like that's just very off-putting.
Yeah, it is.
Because they're not the context of what you're saying, your words and the actual words are not in union.
Congruence.
They're not in congruence.
Exactly.
And that's, what is it? Like that's pragmatics versus linguistics.
Tell me the distinction.
Or semantics, something like that. Okay, well, semantics focuses on the literal, context-free meaning of words, phrases, and sentences. Where pragmatics focus on the study of how context, speaker intent, and situations shape the actual meaning of words during real communication.
Right.
So I think in that example, it's interesting. Like the semantics and the pragmatics of that sentence just aren't in congruence.
Yeah.
And that throws off the whole thing. And that's why it's interesting, just to flat out, just to understand each other in language is a very complicated thing that people don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many little details of how you say a thing, which words you say, that could flip the entire way a sentence is perceived. Like an example for me, I hate texting. I don't like texting.
Yeah.
Because for me, the way I communicate, I say a lot of like, I guess you could say rude things, like little like jabs and jokes that are really playful. And my friends they like me for that. I think it's part of my personality.
Right.
But I don't like texting because whenever I text, I can't get off the context of what I'm saying.
It's only semantic.
So I'm really afraid of how they could read it because 100%. If they're not hearing the way I say the words
100%.
And they're just reading the words flat out, I feel like it's very easy to get like confused on what I mean.
Yeah. 100%. And that's taking away the second layer of language there. But it's also not even just that. We also unconsciously pick up so many bodily cues of how people are communicating as well.
Yes.
Like we know they've done studies, not me, I wish. They've done studies on when people are like using their hands like this, people feel less inclined to listen because they feel like a scare response. Because because primitively, what do you think? When someone's hands go up, they're gonna come hit you. Or the other thing that I've heard is when people put their hand up to wave, like the evolutionary explanation is that they don't have a knife. Like they're showing you they're not going to hurt you.
Is that really why? Yeah. That's interesting.
That's what I've heard. That's what they say. Yeah. I don't know how true it is.
That's really interesting.
But even like how you're slumped over, how much eye contact you're making, for example. If you don't make too much eye contact, sometimes it's a shame response. Because you don't want to be
nervousness.
Seen. It could be nervousness. It could be shame. There's just usually something going on
having
there.
Like a slunched over posture.
Having a slunch.
As opposed to having your chest out.
Yeah, having your chest out.
And that's really, you know what's really cool with that, with animals?
Yeah,
because they don't have communication. So like I forget which one it is, but which is the bear you have to like get really big?
I forget which one.
I think it's black bears.
I think it's the black bear.
I'm pretty sure because like with black bear, if you guys don't know, with black bears, the way you survive a black bear is you get really big and large and present them as a threat.
Yeah,
they'll be afraid of you,
make them scared,
and they run away.
Right.
If it's a grizzly bear, you're kind of screwed because they're gonna maul you to death. They're like, especially if it's a grizzly thing with Joe Rogan talking about grizzly bears, where it's like if it's a girl, except you're gonna die.
You're done, like, dude.
Just hang it up. It's over for you.
You're done.
But it's really interesting, like or like with who was it? There's another animal where it's like you have to get skinny and act like you're not there because they can't see you. Like stuff like that is really interesting because especially with animals, they don't have this communication that we can communicate with. So it goes back to the more primary, like more primitive nature of our body language. Yeah. Which I think is the first what came first before like speaking language is our physical body language. Yeah. That's the only way we can really communicate. But also something interesting, I've heard out with dogs, like the words we say to dogs don't really matter. It's all about the inflection of, oh, good boy, good boy, good boy. No, stop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's all that dogs really pick up on. So the words don't matter. Like I've watched videos of people saying like, oh, you little idiot, I hate you so much. And the dogs are like wagging its tail. And you're like, are you like do you like being punished? What the hell? But no, it's just interesting because like they don't hear the actual words. They just hear the way you're talking to them, and they think if it's good or bad.
Yeah, that's good. There's also
cross species communication, bro.
There's also the idea of space, which is a form of communication.
Space.
How much space you have. Like we naturally know how much space you should have. I forget all the terminology, but there's like intimate space versus social space versus corporate space. So like if you really don't know someone and it's more of like a meeting, like you're like a certain amount of feet, say like 7 or 8 feet. Whereas with your friends with someone, you're like 4 feet. Whereas when you're intimate with someone, you're usually like 2 feet, 1 feet. And so there's an idea that space communicates something about what you want. For example, like if a man is trying to approach a woman, like he gets kind of closer to her. But we know that when someone gets really close to us, personal space, we're like, get away. Like you're weird. Like you don't understand something intuitively. Or if you're really far away, like if I was like trying to talk to you from over here, like with this inflection, you'd be like, what's going on? What are you doing?
Well, I think even that, I think that like, especially with the man and woman thing, it's all about a progression.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, especially with that, you know the thing where
it
it's
is
like,
about a
or if it's like guys want to break the touch barrier, or what it's called. Really? It's basically like, if a guy ever goes out with a girl, they try to like touch them like little like subtly. Like if they start laughing, they'll start hitting them like, oh, it's so funny. Or if like they're sitting down, they'll scoot a little bit closer to them. Try to like a contact barrier. To break the contact barrier to make physical intimacy less jarring because you already had that. Like I've touched you before. Or not even like a weird, like I've made physical contact with you before, so it doesn't freak
it's even
you
like,
out.
I mean, touch is another way to communicate. It's even like that with friends, with family, like the way in which you touch a person also matters. So I just think like it's crazy how much is going on when we communicate. There's space, there's all the senses, there's the content of the words, there's the way in which the words are being said, there's the bodily dynamics. Like those are 5 different ways that we communicate all the time, every day. Yeah, and so, sorry, one more. There's another study that I know, which is they did a study on therapists, physical therapists, and they did a study on when people were sitting down or laying in a bed and being talked to by a therapist. And every time the therapist was talking to them from standing up, they felt less seen and less heard. Whereas when the therapist would sit down and get on their plane, they felt more seen, more heard, more understood.
Probably because they felt like it was like more like a authoritarian.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
They're being lectured to.
You have to look up to them. That's how we usually, oh, what am I, looking up to you? So there's a physical embodiness of, you have to look up to them. Whereas when they come down on your level, they're showing that they care enough. Like I'm going to sit down and stop my day. To actually come to your level.
Because that's true. Like you think about in positions where I've had someone standing over me, I'm sitting down, it's like I feel like, not like I'm like intimidated, but like I feel like you have more, like
there's an
talking
incongruity.
down to me.
There's another incongruity there. So that's another level of communication.
Another level of communication beyond that is once you get a close friend and you can almost like read their mind. It's so crazy because I know Aristotle said that a friend is a second self. And it's crazy how true that is. Like, if you get close to like your best friend, like your girlfriend, your wife, like that gets to a point where you damn near read their mind. And you can communicate without even saying words to each other. You know everything. And you have even like one phrase has like so many
paragraphs of meaning to it that other people just couldn't possibly understand because of your shared experience.
That's another thing
and
too.
Your shared history.
Having inside jokes. Inside jokes which relate to a past experience. You guys can talk about probably for hours in like a sentence. Or like a word. That's crazy too.
Weird.
Like what's the word for that? Like the stacking of it within the word. I can't think of the word.
No, it all stacks upon each other. Like in communication.
Or it's like funneled onto one word.
It's like it bundles onto it or it adheres to it.
It's really cool. I want to get back onto the TED Talk because there's more stuff in there that I thought was really cool. First of all, one thing she said was a quote from Charlemagne, which she said, "To have a second language is to have a second soul," which basically what she explained is like having different languages basically is like having whole other ways of thinking about the world. Like because the way a person thinks in English is different than the way a person thinks in Spanish. Like beyond the inner monologue being in those languages, the way you experience the world is different. Like for example, in English versus Spanish, in English, we attribute more fault to people. Like, for example, for accidents, in English, we often say like, oh, he broke the vase. In Spanish, they'll say more often the vase broke, and they won't attribute someone
like
to
an
the action happening. So like, people who speak English are more often to like have blame towards people, whereas people who speak Spanish are more often to be like, oh, it's fine. Like it was truly just an accident. Whereas even in English, even in accents with the English speakers, they attribute fault to someone, which is something I thought was really cool. And then again in Spanish and German, it's kind of interesting because English is a very like simple, complicated language, because at face value we don't have grammatical genders. Like everything is all in one gender.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, we have words that mean multiple things. Learning English as a second language is really hard.
Yeah.
But in languages that have grammatical genders, they view different words differently with adjectives. Like for example, in German, the word for bridge is feminine. In Spanish, the word for bridge is masculine. So if you ask people who are German, how do you like just to describe a bridge, they're more inclined to say it's like beautiful, elegant, like detail oriented. Whereas if you ask someone who speaks Spanish about how to describe a bridge, they'll say it's strong, it's sturdy, it's reliable, because they have those adjectives that are similar to more masculine or feminine traits, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. I didn't know that at all.
That is super cool. I wonder if it'd be cool to be able to do, like, track the historical standpoint of the people who came up with the English language and how they were, like, psychologically saw themselves.
Yeah.
Or how they, like, psychologically were doing. Because I wonder if there's a correlation between people's self-talk and their psychological history and then the language that came out of it. Like how
when
English
languages
developed.
Are formed?
Yeah, because like you said, like maybe some languages are prone to be like more shaming.
Yeah.
Because we're using like I, we're using pronouns, me, like he broke the vase instead of, oh, the vase broke, or like fortune had it that the vase broke.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's more attribution to you as the person who needs to take responsibility for the thing that happened instead of just describing the thing that happened.
Yeah. And it's interesting also because like you said, like whoever made the languages are still being made. Like we think, especially like in like movies, like they make new languages.
They
all
do,
the time.
yeah. I mean, Tolkien did that with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and so did
Created
someone else did
Elvish
it recently too. I forgot who made a new language.
Oh, Dune.
Yeah, it was Dune, and I think a Marvel movie too, but I forgot who. Anyways, but yeah, like stuff like that is crazy, and like it's interesting because I wonder if they think about that. Like I wonder if they think about all the different inflections and like the little subcontext and like the pragmatics that go into making a new language.
I'm sure you gotta be a genius.
I feel like you have to.
You have to study linguistics to know how to make a language.
Shout out Mr. Silva. He's majored in linguistics.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to mention about language is metaphors, because I think metaphor is a way in which we can capture experience, which is like very potent that a proposition necessarily couldn't. So like, for example, if you say like, I don't have like a grip on my reality, or I feel like it's like crawling under my skin. Like you start to see that a lot of your language is made up of metaphors, which are of material things in the world. Like metaphor is the way in which we kind of orient ourselves because we're embodied.
Yeah.
So I think that's just another important aspect of language, that metaphor is maybe like part of the grammar of how we live. It's like embedded in how we describe ourselves. And what I've thought is psychologically a good litmus test for where you're at is what are the metaphors that I would use to describe how I'm doing in my life right now. And you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see like whether the metaphors are more towards like hell or like whether the metaphors are more towards like bliss. Which I just think is a cool way to test it.
Yeah, metaphors are a very interesting way just to like speak in general, because even they require a lot of like prior knowledge and context.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I think metaphors have a certain way of describing things in ways we can't speak with regular language.
Yes, that's what I mean. And that's why poetry is made up of metaphor.
Yeah.
And that's why poetry is so impactful for people. Because maybe there's a certain reality that language can't touch, but we can still experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, and I think that's why metaphor in poetry is like getting to a higher realm that primitive sort of language like we're speaking now just can't get to.
Yeah. I wonder if they have metaphors in other languages.
Yeah, for sure. They have to. But notice the metaphors are going to be different.
Yeah.
Like the environment is going to constrain how you're using the metaphor, because certain metaphors that we use because of our culture aren't going to make sense. Like say someone from the South. They probably have like metaphors about like, I don't know, what food they eat or whatever. In the same way that like couples have a metaphor about how they speak to each other, other languages just won't get it because they live in a completely different environment. Yeah. I
don't know if you consider this a metaphor or not, but in the TED Talk again, the speaker was talking about the Cook Tire people from Cape York.
Yeah.
And she was saying how the way they live is very oriented, very oriented, like on the four cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west.
Gotcha.
To a point where it's like their version of saying hello is in English translated to which way are you going?
Oh, cool.
And then you answer by saying which way you're going.
That's cool.
So it's basically, it makes you always know which direction you're facing. If you're like from here, like point to north.
North would be actually that way.
Okay, I don't know that.
Well, the only reason I know that is because Tijuana is that way.
Okay, yeah. I could probably, if I thought about it, I could take it in like a minute because I should figure out where the beach is and I can figure out
the beach. You just need the beach is right there. You can see it.
Yeah, if I figure out where the beach is, I know where to go. But like, if I was in like if I was in the classroom, I probably wouldn't. It'd take me a minute to figure it out. But for them, their whole life is like built on directionality.
So fascinating.
To a point where also the way they read is directional. So there was a study given to them where they were given pictures of a man at various ages of their life. So like from baby all the way up to where like they're old and about to die. Whichever way they ordered them from youngest to oldest was based on which way they were facing. So if you were facing to the north, they would order them right to left.
Weird.
If you're facing south, they would order them left to right. Weird. And if you were facing east, they would order them towards your body. The like unifying principle is they read things from east to west.
Oh wow.
So like I don't know if that works when it comes to like school, but especially when it comes to like linear, like putting things in order, it's always east to west.
Wow.
Whichever way you're facing, which is very interesting.
That is so cool.
And it's crazy how like that changes the entire way your like culture, yourself is built.
Everything.
I mean, these people exist, by the way. They exist right now.
Yeah.
They live their life like this right now. Yeah. It's so foreign to us. I can't even imagine that.
That is crazy.
But it's their everyday reality.
It's the
which is Sonder, by the way. I want to talk about one day. I've had it on my arm.
Yeah.
Sonder is crazy. I don't want to get too far into it because I want to save it for a whole different episode. But yeah, it's insane.
That's good. I wanna transition maybe to talking about articulation too.
Okay.
Like the importance of, because we talked a lot about language and kind of like the theories behind it and what's going on. But maybe like I would ask you, like, why do you think it's important to learn how to cultivate being articulate as a person? And what does articulation mean? If that makes sense. Those are kind of tough questions, but.
No, I think I can talk about it a lot because I struggle with it a lot.
Yeah.
I think for this, someone I looked into a lot is Michael Smoke, or he's known as Higher Up Wellness. Shout out Michael Smoke. If you see this podcast, please show us some love. You live in San Diego or you were here recently, I follow you. You do a lot of good work. A lot of things he talks about is like, I guess not particularly articulation, but just knowing how to speak well and like knowing how to like make yourself be heard and hear other people, which is all I think is a part of articulation because you have to make sure you be able to speak clearly. Yeah. Because if you can't speak clearly, no one's gonna understand you. If you can't speak clearly, you can't articulate yourself well. Not only with like having a good flow of words, but also being able to articulate the thoughts in your head. Yeah. People won't take you seriously.
Totally.
And you won't be able to get anywhere because basically everything you want is behind someone else. Yeah. If you really think about it, everything you want, someone else has, and you're trying to either enjoy that with them or get it from them. And the only way to get that is through communication. The only way to communicate is through articulation.
Oh, there you go. So one of the importances
I'm clipping that.
One of the importances of articulation is that it's the only way to communicate well. Yeah. And communication is like part and parcel with what it means to be a human being. For sure. In other words, if you can't communicate well, you can't live.
Because human beings are built for relationships.
Yeah, we're built for relationship, and then also like I keep coming back to evolution, but like think about way prior times. If you couldn't communicate to someone, you're not getting food. Yeah. Let's say you couldn't go hunt that day. Yep. You find other people. You need to communicate to try to get food. Yeah. So there's like communication is kind of like food for life, and the cool thing about communication is that at it is coming together, relationship. So language is good for us insofar as it actually creates a community of people, and this is why a lie is bad. Is because what a lie does is it actually breaks down the coherence of language. In other words, it says, I can't trust you anymore because your words don't mean what you say they mean in all the ways we've talked about. Because a lie is an absolute inversion of what was supposed to be said. Yeah, it's a deception.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And that's why when people lie, we can't trust. Yeah. And when you can't trust, you can't have communication. So if every single person in the world lied, it would be like a Tower of Babel.
Yeah, have you seen?
No one could communicate.
Yeah, that's facts.
It would just be death. Like
you couldn't even have society.
It would be a death match.
You couldn't even have society.
No, 100%.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Isn't that so fascinating?
Yeah, watch out what you lie about, man. But I also think like,
don't lie.
Don't lie. But I feel like there are scenarios where lying.
Okay.
Isn't that serious?
Well, but those are the exceptional cases.
The rule is that lying is bad.
I think the rule is don't lie, because lying will destroy yourself. Yeah. And it will destroy everyone around you. That is just what lies do.
That's true.
That's what like a falsehood is.
That's true.
And it's usually for the sake of your own ego pleasure. Like the only reason you lie is usually like to get something for yourself. And like the exceptional case is like, oh, maybe my mom is on hospice. I don't have enough money, so I'm gonna lie and like rob a bank or something. Like I'm gonna lie to my friends or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like an ethical case that we'd have to examine.
Yeah.
But I think the rule is we can't have communication or language without lying, so you shouldn't lie.
Yeah, and also I think it's true because like I've talked to friends who used to lie a lot, or I used to lie a lot. Not really, but like you don't feel good.
No.
Like you feel terrible because your whole perception of yourself is just not true.
No, it creates...
who you are is not who you actually are to everyone else. It doesn't feel good.
It creates a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Because there's a distance, like we've been talking about, the asymmetry, the incongruity. There's an incongruity between who you know you probably should be and then what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the way in which that's represented is by your speech.
Yeah.
And like, so to go back to articulation, like articulate, it actually comes from physiology. It's like there's articulation between bones and joints.
Really?
Yeah. There's a like when you dislocate something, an articulation is like a fine-grained difference between a specific structure. And so when you learn to articulate yourself, you learn to actually carve out parts of reality very precisely and then differentiate from the rest of reality to create a coherent map and order and system.
And even like with like you're talking about your body, like you have to articulate your words, just like you have to articulate the various parts and bones of your body to make one whole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why like we have a bunch of different names now for every different part, every organ, every bone, every nerve, every vein, you know what I'm saying? And so like that's an analogy for a person who's articulate has, they have a certain responsibility, but they also have a power, like a good type of power to be able to bring about change in the world in a way which you couldn't.
Yeah, and something else about that is, I didn't think about until I watched the TED Talk. Almost every like scientific study is like that we use in modern medicine has been done in English, and that means that the studies have been done with English thinking minds, which leaves out a majority of the world of like the way they view the body, which is interesting because so it's like maybe we should have more studies in other languages.
Yeah, for sure.
People who natively speak other languages, it'll lead to a different train of thought.
You're saying most of the studies that have been done on like language,
like the body, no, I'm talking like medicine, like the body, the brain.
Like the body and the brain are in English.
Are in English.
Yeah, that's interesting because even in the West, like in our culture, this goes back to modern philosophy, but we have a very dualistic way of thinking about human persons. In other words, we have like a big separation between mind and matter.
Yeah.
And there's some like more primitive tribes, cultures that think about them as like almost inseparable. Like they're just intimately connected and you can't ever understand the one without understanding the other. So there's a lack of separateness that sometimes the West gives to the body and the mind.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good way to end off. Yeah, it's a pretty long episode. It's like an hour.
It's all right.
But yeah, I think it was a great topic. I think it was really, I learned a lot through looking into it. I hope you guys learned a lot from us listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to get this one going. I think from here going out, or from the beginning, we should keep getting better and better. It's going to become an even more enjoyable listening experience.
Yeah. I just want to say, I think as a practical note to leave them, if you want to become more articulate, start speaking more and start writing more. Because you can't become more articulate by just generating more thoughts or reading necessarily. You have to actually start speaking and writing.
Yeah.
And so be more articulate, you'll be more dangerous in a good sense, and you'll be more mature of a human being.
So, I need to start journaling.
Yeah.
I really want to start journaling. Yeah. Do you have your fun fact of the week? You forgot your fun fact of the week?
I didn't bring it, bro.
Okay, in case, well, I'll just tell you. We're going to start having fun facts related to the topic every week. It was supposed to be Mikey, but he forgot. So I don't know. I was thinking, you have anything you got right now?
Forgive me. Let's put it, I have a fun fact. So in the brain, there's different parts. There's a part of the brain that controls your language centers, right? The Broca's area, and there's a part of your brain that controls the meaning centers.
I've heard it.
Which is called the Wernicke's area.
I learned about this last semester.
So you can have different types of aphasia in association with the meaning of words or just putting words out there.
Yeah.
So that's a fun fact.
Yeah. If you're a psych student, that wasn't a fun fact. You learned about it in Psych 101 like I did. But to everyone else, pretty fun fact. I'm leaving you guys with a question. What does it mean to speak for you? What is the way you talk, your own personal way of speaking? Because the way everyone talks is different. Their own dialect and dictation is different. Mm-hmm. Like some people like have naturally a more like laid back, like, yeah, bro, like
Cali boys.
Yeah, like Cali boys. People talk very proper. Yeah. What does that mean to you? Why do you talk like that? Think about that, and because it matters, and it's deeper than you think it is. So until next week, keep thinking, keep living, keep loving, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.